Good evening and welcome to another episode of It's a Football Thing, a really special episode. Personally, for me and for the boys as well, even though they're Chelsea and Man United fans, we've got plenty of love and plenty of respect for our amazing guest tonight. Joining us all the way from London, we've got the amazing Lee Judges. You may have seen him on IFT. He's got his own channel, Lee Judges TV, and all the info is in the description. Lee, thank you for joining us. How are you?
No worries. Yeah, all good. Thank you very much. All good. Obviously, like sprightly after our win yesterday, and Man United going out, and Chelsea scraping through. But all good. Can't complain. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, pleasure. Absolutely, Scott. And it's nice to always talk a bit of shop with rival fans, and it's nice to see for once that we're both on the right side of the outcome ledger. But yeah, great to have you on board, Lee. Hope we have a great conversation, mate.
No worries.
And Robbie's just dropped out. I'm sure he'll be back.
He found out that West Ham beat United this morning.
What's it saying we said? You know, I don't know if it's trouble with Man United fans. They can't handle losing, can they? They jump off, so they can't take it.
It must be you, Lee, because Rob never drops out, but you were giving him a bit of stick beforehand. We'll bring him back in. Robbie, how are you, man?
Can you all hear me, boys? Sorry.
Yeah, we've got you.
Look, mate, I'll jump out for a second and I can hear already they're ganging up on me.
We thought you found out the West Ham United result, Rob, and dropped out.
Look, let's we've got a lot to get through tonight, so we're not going to jump too far into those results from this morning. Maybe we'll mention Rob's a few times. Not all the teams can win and go through to the next round. But look, the plan for tonight basically is to do some really quick previews to the other fixtures. We want to make the most of the time we've got with Lee, who's been really generous in joining us. And then once we've done those quick predictions, we're going to unpack this North London derby because it is huge. Before we get into those predictions, just want to say hello to some of the people in the chat. We've got Lottie here, who's from Cannon Chatter. Morning, Lottie. Morning for you. We've got Daniel. G'day, Daniel. How are you? George, we'll definitely put your question to Lee, George, a little bit later on. And we've got Ben, who says good evening and welcome. All right, I'm going to chuck up the fixtures for this week. Like I said, the focus is the North London derby. So let's get through these with a bit of pace. I am making a comeback in the predictions, so it's always nice to get up there. Let's start here. Actually, let's skip Chelsea City because we're going to talk a little bit about that in depth. But Man United and Villa. Robbie, do you have any quick words on this one, mate?
I'll be quick, boys. Tonight, I know it's all about the North London derby tonight. Look, I know we had a little bit of a disappointment this morning. It was a fully rotated squad. Look, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lose sleep over this one. I am disappointed not to be in the next round, obviously, but yeah, it's probably out of the 4 trophies up for grabs, it's the one that's not the most shiniest. It's not an excuse at the end of the day. Ollie still does need a trophy, and that's one less he can go for now. But look, we look to Saturday now. Back at home, Ronaldo and all the big boys should be starting again. Villa were good this morning, but I think we should take this one 2-1. We still can't keep that clean sheet, so I think 2-1 to United.
Lee, who do you think wins this one, mate?
Man United. I think Villa are a good side, by the way. I think they've done really well. They've caused Man United a few problems, but I just think that Man United, just because they're at home, I'll tell you what, Man United got a little bit of luck going on their side. I thought they was a little bit fortunate against West Ham the other day. But listen, with Ronaldo in the side, I just think he just gives them that little bit. He's come back in every game he scored in. It's unbelievable, really. So I just think that Man United will edge this one. Yeah.
Yeah. And George in the live chat before we go to you, RJ, says if we can carry that performance from today, bring in Ronaldo for Martial, we easily win. Lottie's calling a Villa win. Declared's excited to see you here, Lee. He's one of our regulars.
No worries.
Tom's saying it's weird to have 2 lunchtime kickoffs. United Villa. I don't know if that's the main one, Tom.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. Why is that? I've never heard of that before.
Oh, look, mate, the times are awful for us, whether it's lunchtime for you or not. It's not an early night sleep for us Aussies.
So what time
will that you, RJ? Sorry?
What time will that game be for you then over there?
9:30 at night, and that's a perfect time for us. That's our prime time for us. 9:30 p.m. is a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah, average, usually for us, it's between 12
Midnight,
a.m. through
2
to
o'clock,
5
yeah.
a.m.
Yeah.
Oh, well done. Tip me out to
RJ, who wins it?
Well, I've had the privilege of watching Aston Villa play Chelsea a couple of times recently, and I've been pretty impressed with what the Villains have been doing. But unfortunately, we've been the villain on both sides of the outcome sheet. I reckon it's going to be very tight, but United, because of the freshness, they rotated a whole bunch for the Carabao Cup. And I think given that freshness, it'll be enough to spur them over the line and get the result. And I'll take a 2-1 as well.
I'm going 2-0 to Man United. Ronaldo's back. He's the fear factor. Let's do some real quick ones on Everton and Norwich City. RJ, you first, matey.
Yeah, for me, Toffees will not cruise, but they'll do enough pretty comfortably. I think they'll take this one 2-0 in the end.
What about you, Lee?
Yeah, losing in midweek in the cup would be a big blow from at QPR. A little bit hit and miss, win one, lose one. But I think that, Norwich have got to win somewhere along the line. But unfortunately, it's not for them. It's not going to be at Goodison Park. 2-0 Everton for me.
Yeah. Robbie?
Yeah, I think 1-0 Everton. They've still got a few players out. Richarlison's out. Don't know if Calvert-Lewin's back yet. Hummers is on the plane to Qatar or something. So, yeah, I think 1-0 to Everton.
Yeah, look, I'm going 1-0 to Everton as well. Before we jump over to Leeds, West Ham, just a few people to say hello to. Morning, James. Almighty Blues FC, good morning, good morning. Ben's calling Everton 2-0. Lottie's calling 2-0 Everton as well. Declared saying that Norwich have been judged 2-0. And let's go to the next one, guys, because I want to get to this North London derby. I'm pumped. Leeds, West Ham. I actually think this will be an entertaining match. I think we'll see some really good football in here, some really offensive football. I am going to go with a West Ham 2-1 victory.
Nice. For me personally, I'm feeling similar vibes. Just, again, no confidence in that Leeds back line, and I'm a little bit more confident with West Ham and the pragmatism Moyes can deploy. Is Antonio back out of interest?
Yes, he is. I'm surprised he didn't play today.
Yeah,
to be honest,
that's important. That's an important factor for me. So, I actually think it'll be more goals, and I'm pretty excited. I'm going to go 3-2 to the Hammers.
Robbie?
Yeah, 2-0 Hammers.
And Lee?
I think I've been more than impressed with West Ham, but Leeds are a good side, particularly at home. So I'm going to go 2-2. I think it'll be a good game, though. Good game.
We had a big chat about Leeds last week, Lee, because we've got a few Leeds fans who frequent the channel. Do you think it could be a case of second season syndrome for them? Or do you think they'll hit those same heights as last season? Or
I think it's always difficult when it's the second season. I think people have had a little look at Leeds now, know what they're about, so probably looking at their weaknesses a little bit more. They can be a little bit too over-attacking, if you know what I mean, and not so cool. I think when you're in this league, you have to be respectful of the opposition. You have to. There are times when you can't go gun-ho against teams because they'll pick you off, and I think that they're going to have to change their style a little bit. I know he doesn't want to, but if he doesn't, it's like the likes of, the big boys will beat them, but then all of a sudden, like the teams in and around them will start beating them as well, and then they could be in a bit of trouble. So I think they're going to have to change their style a little bit, defend better than what they are. But listen, they're entertaining to watch. I'll give them that. Speaking
of teams that might be in a little bit of trouble, Lee, what do you make of the Leicester-Burnley match? Leicester haven't been their usual consistent selves. Do you think there's a risk of them dropping points here? This is a difficult one for me because Leicester have not looked as good as what I thought they would do. If I'll be honest, they look a little bit jaded. If that makes sense, I don't see, and they've got the Europa League to go through again. Everything. So I think it's going to be a difficult season for them. I think I've been a little bit surprised that they've struggled a little bit. Burnley are going to say that, listen, when you play Burnley, you know what you're going to get. It's a tough game. It's never easy. You might come through and win it, and I think that maybe
that Leicester might have to keep themselves in the game to win it. But for me, I think that Burnley. Well, I don't know about you guys. I'm a big fan of Sean Dyche. I think what he does, he unbelievable job what he does, and I think that they get through it. They survive. I don't know how, but they will. But I'm not so sure that they get the result at Leicester, because I think Leicester are at home are probably a little bit different for me. But I'm not really worried that Burnley are down where they are. They've been there before and they know what it's about. So I think that they'll be fine come the end of the season. But I think that Leicester have just probably got a little bit too much from them in this game, particularly at home. So I'm going to go 2-0 to Burnley. To Leicester.
I agree with you, Lee. What about you, Rob?
Yeah, you've convinced me, Lee. I'll just go for the 1-0, but they still haven't been, scoring a lot of goals. So, yeah, I'll just go 1-0.
RJ?
Yeah, no, some compelling comments, and we actually spoke very glowingly of Sean Dyche the other day on our show, and it's nice to see clubs rewarding managers, and I say that with my club, who doesn't really reward, long-term and longevity with coaches, but nice to see him. Good luck to him. But I'm also a big fan of Brendan Rodgers, it must be said, and I think he's done a great job with Foxes since he's taken over. Bit of a bumpy start this season, but definitely no concerns. And I still think that on the balance of things, they will do enough to take this out. And I actually will lock in a 3-1 win for them.
Perfect. Before we go to the next one, thank you to all the people in the live chat who are absolutely smashing the comments. Please hit that like button as well. It helps get our content seen by a larger audience. We really appreciate that. Watford, Newcastle. I'm going to go with a Newcastle win in this one. I think St. Maximin's looking really good. He's got some good attacking flair, and I actually think he'll have a big game. So I'm going with Newcastle 1-0 over Watford. What about you, RJ?
Yeah, tough one for me. I think Watford started off pretty brightly, but they've started to taper it off a little bit. And Newcastle been going not too bad lately. And I hear what you're saying about Maximin. He's been really lively for them. And they're not as, dare I say, boring to watch as they were last season, the Maggies. So, yeah, I'm backing you on this one. I think, 2-1 in the end.
What about you, Lee?
Yeah, I don't understand where Newcastle get all the bad press from. I think Steve Bruce does a decent job as far as I can see. It's just he hasn't got a lot of backing, and it's a very, very difficult job that he's got up there. But whenever I watch Newcastle, I think, it ain't that bad, and I think that they're nixing at Watford as well. I think Watford are one of these teams that are going to be better away from home than at home, because the emphasis is on them to do things. So they might leave themselves a little bit open. And I think Newcastle will win it. I think that they're nick it 2-1.
Yeah,
what about you, Robbie?
Yeah, Shano from the chat, our resident Newcastle fan, going with your boys, mate, 2-1 to the Toons.
And just an interesting side note for you, Lee. This game's a big deal for us because it's actually the debut of an Australian referee.
Yeah,
He's
Jared Gillett.
Jared Gillett.
I think he refereed the Arsenal game last night, I think.
I'm not sure. We couldn't get it broadcast, so I couldn't watch the game.
I think there was I'll have to check that out. He was the first, because he's going to be the first foreign referee, isn't he? And I think he refereed the game yesterday. So I'm not 100% sure on that, but so that'd be interesting. If it is him, he'd give us a penalty. So yeah, look.
And Arsenal won that game, didn't they, Lee? So we've already got some question marks about how good this referee is. So we might have to check on that one.
He was on VAR, Shano's told us, but for us, it's exciting to see an Aussie ref in there. I mean, the standard, quite frankly, can be appalling at times, but hopefully he doesn't get involved in too much controversy. It would be nice to see him do well. Jumping over Brentford, Liverpool. To me, this is Liverpool. This is easy. Liverpool 3-0. What about you, Lee?
Yeah, I'm the same. This is the difference between Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, and these guys. When we went there, people were saying, "Oh, Arsenal won't win this game, and we'll draw this game or lose it, whatever." But straight away, I'm with you. 2-3-0 Liverpool. I think that Liverpool are a really good side at this moment. I don't think it'll be 3. I think that it'll probably be 2. So I'm going to go 2-0.
2-0. Yeah, we've had a few 2-0s in the chat from Ben and VJ. Robbie, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, same for me. 2-0 as well. Again, boys, 2-0 to Liverpool.
RJ?
Yep, I think they'll make it difficult, Brentford, but in the end they'll get stung 2-0. I agree. Just they've been securing a few 3-0 results, maybe even against Palace, but they were quite lucky, I think, to get 3 in the end, but have definitely been the dominant side in all their games they've played, except for against us. It's pretty equal, but 2-0.
Brentford might put up a little bit of a show at home with their fans bouncing. Like, it might not just be, I think they're going to lose, but it might not be like an influx of loss.
Yeah, we'll have to see. God bless my mum. She's trying to call me. She's obviously not watching the stream.
She disagrees with our predictions, I think. She's gone.
Yeah, and I think she wants to have a go at Rob about the West Ham result. But, Mum, if you are watching, I'll have to call you after. We've got lead judges on. This is a big deal for us. Let's jump on to the next one. Southampton hosting Wolves. I thought Wolves a little bit unlucky this morning against Spurs. If they can fight like that, I can see them certainly taking a point at least. So I'm going with 1-1 in this one. What about you, Robbie?
Yeah, I've got a lot of respect for Saints lately. They've taken points of, like I said, us, City, West Ham. So at home, I think they'll get the result here and go for 2-1 to the Saints.
What about you, RJ?
Yeah, I was going to call them Mr. Squiggle from now on. They've just got that many draws at the moment, poor Saints. But in the end, I've been actually pretty impressed as well with what the Wolves have been producing. And it's going to be tight, but I don't know. I think they're going to edge this one out, and I'm going to go 1-0 to Wolves.
And Lee?
Yeah, difficult place Southampton to go, to be honest, guys. Wolves seem to be playing well without getting the results. I can't make it out. I thought, they should have probably what I see of the highlights yesterday, might have nicked it against Spurs, but they just don't seem to be able to get over the line for what reasons, I don't know. But I think Southampton will nick this one 1-0.
Yeah, it should be an interesting one. George, with a great comment. Watching Wolves in front of goal is like watching the under-sixes, unorganised and a shambles. George, you're only saying that because you haven't seen RJ's son's team, coached by RJ, the best under-sixes around.
Oh, mate, that's a whole separate stream for that.
Hey, Lee, just on a side note, you mentioned Southampton's a tough place to go. Obviously, you travel all around England watching games. Are there any stadiums that you really find uncomfortable to go to as an away fan?
I don't really like the sort of newer grounds, if I'll be honest. Like Sunderland was always a funny sort of ground, like they're sort of a little bit empty-ish, if you know what I mean. Like always high up. Like Newcastle's even worse. You know what I mean? It's like you're in the gods up there. Like I'm uncomfortable grounds. Southampton's is a funny. Burnley's a funny ground to go. Like it's not the greatest place. No disrespect to Burnley, it's not the greatest views and everything. Like but basically they're Manchester City's not a very nice place to go because they're too bloody good.
It's empty.
So yeah. It is like great atmosphere in there. By the way, they're very ferociously Manchester City fans. Honestly, if you get next to them and all that, they're very ferocious. So, that's always a tough. Listen, it's always the tough places are the ones that you don't win at. Like I think someone just said, like you just said, Stoke's not a very nice place to go to. Like so I'm glad that. Well, I say that I'm glad that they're not in it no more. But that's a bit harsh. But that was never a great ground. One of the worst. Well, I say worst, but one of the toughest places to go. Not tough. It was West Ham, the old Upton Park, but it was a great atmosphere in there. Like White Hart Lane, great atmosphere. Chelsea, Stamford Bridge is sort of always a great atmosphere. Like so but never do quite well in them. So yeah, I would say that was. I'd say like Crystal Palace is another tough one because it's not probably the worst view. It's like watching a game through a letterbox at Crystal Palace, and it's a difficult place to get to. It's a long walk. So Crystal Palace is probably the worst.
Yeah, there you go. Before we do Palace Brighton, I have to ask, because you wouldn't know this, Lee. My uncle's a Spurs fan. Thank God my grandfather was an Arsenal fan and convinced me. What do you think of their new stadium?
Do you know what? I've not been there. We've not had the opportunity to go there, So
COVID, of course.
when I'm going past going to the Arsenal, I have to go past Tottenham Stadium. It looks fantastic. I have to say that. You know, it's like a spaceship has landed in Tottenham. It's awesome, like to look at. But obviously, I haven't been there yet, you know. So I don't know what the atmosphere like. Listen, when Arsenal play Spurs, whether it's home or away, is a different atmosphere to it to any other time. But White Hart Lane was always a special place to go. It was, you know, atmosphere-wise, danger, everything that you know about football was at White Hart Lane. You know, if you won there, there's no better place to win. But if you lost there, there's no worse place to lose. So White Hart Lane is always a good stadium. But the new one, I haven't been there. So looking forward to going there, hopefully. Obviously, I think we're in there in January, I think.
You'll have to come back on and let us know how it is, like.
Yeah, I'll let you know, like, yeah, 100%.
All right, let's quickly do Crystal Palace and Brighton, and then jump into Chelsea City and get to this big North London derby, because I'm buzzing to talk about it. Patrick Vieira's Crystal Palace have proved that they're not easy to beat, but Brighton are playing such good football. It's hard for me to look past them. I'm going to go with Brighton to take this 2-1. What about you, RJ?
Yeah, no, definitely very logical. But I've really been impressed with the way that Palace have bounced back, considering the humbling we gave them at the start of the season. But equally impressed with what Potter's been doing with Brighton. Like we said, they're XG champions last season. I think it's, you know, perhaps this is my bold prediction here. I'm going to lock in a draw. I think this is going to be, they're going to make it really difficult for Brighton in this one. And I'm going to say 1-1 draw for me.
Interesting. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a draw, but 2-2 in this one. I think there could be goals on both sides. And like I said, they're both, I like Brighton, but Palace at home, like I said, it's always hard now, picking up a little bit of form. So 2-2 for me.
And you, Lee?
Do you know what? Brighton have really surprised me how well they've started the season. I didn't think that they'd start off this well, you know, like struggling last season. But do you know what? As good as they've been, Palace 3-0 win against Spurs, you can't sort of ignore that, really. So I'm thinking a 2-1 Palace win, I think.
Nice.
It'll be very interesting indeed. Okay, we've got two big fixtures. Obviously, I'm excited for the North London derby, but RJ, I'm sure you're excited for the Frank Lampard derby. Club legend of both clubs, scored against Chelsea in a Man City jersey, which is one of my favourite Premier League memories. And I'm not even a City fan. I just loved watching him score.
Hang on, Scott. I'm just watching Kai Havertz score a Champions League winning goal. Sorry. I'm not sure if you have that privilege.
Is that why RJ's wearing the sky blue Chelsea kit tonight?
Covered both angles, mate. All good.
He's representing both of Frank Lampard's teams.
Here you go, Scott.
RJ,
I'll give you something.
Let's maybe start with you on this one. Obviously, we won't just do a quick prediction here. Talk me through your thoughts ahead of the game and tie your prediction in there. And then I'd love to hear Lee's and, of course, Robbie's.
Yeah, now this is obviously not impartial, definitely not objective in what I'm going to say here, but it's a mammoth clash for both clubs because obviously we have made no secrets that we are here this season to get ourselves back in the Premier League winning circle. That's our aim, and we don't shy away from that expectation. Despite us, narrowly crossing the fourth place finish line last season, we're the European champions. We've bolstered our squad. We've started off in almost perfect fashion this season, and all signs are looking well. That said, critically speaking, some of the performances themselves haven't been up to scratch, but what's important and a mark of champions is getting the result despite not playing sensationally. So I am buoyed by the fact that we are managing to get the job done despite levels of improvement that I could foresee. The second half the other day when we picked up our game was really, really impressive. And this morning we heavily rotated. So I think that's going to make it quite interesting when we do enter this clash because City, they're an interesting team to analyse this season. 1 minute, they're disappointing. They get a really ugly draw. Next minute, they go and belt a certain team. And then you just don't know which City you're going to get. So they're being very Dr. Jekyll or Hyde and Jekyll sort of scenario. So it just depends on which City turns up for me and equally Tuchel, which sort of version of the Blues we're going to get. Because last season, the one thing that Tuchel managed to do was get us up for the big games, including obviously in the Champions League final. So for me, I enter this match with quite optimism that we will get the job done, but it's obviously not going to be as easy as it was against Palace. So look, I do trust in Romelu Lukaku. N'Golo Kante, world class in what he's done. He's fresh now. He's looking fit. Mateo Kovacic, Thiago Silva. He just turned 37. Everybody talks about Cristiano Ronaldo and his age. He's doing wonders at his age as well, Thiago Silva. So on balance of things, I'll scrape us with a win, and I'll take a 2-1 to Chelsea.
Lee, well, what are your thoughts ahead of this one? Because these are obviously, as an Arsenal fan, I look at this, and these are two clubs that are on a different end of the scale to where we are and where we want to be. So this will be a really interesting match. Who do you think takes it, Lee, and how far ahead of us do you think these teams may be?
Well, I watched Chelsea the other week at the Emirates, and they're on a different planet to us at this moment in time. They were superb. I have to say that. I felt against Tottenham, and I've got a few, obviously, Chelsea mates and whatever. I would have been disappointed if I was a Chelsea fan that it was only 3-0 at the end there. They had a chance there to rip a real good 6-0 against them, and they did. That's how good they were in that second half. You know, and you know, I'd love Arsenal to be in that position where we've got Tottenham like that on a piece of string like that. You know, and that was without Lukaku, by the way, playing anywhere near as probably his worst game for Chelsea since he's come back. Wasn't bad, but he wasn't. You know, he's been awesome of late, but he was a little bit hit and miss in that game, which just shows you. I think the difference between Chelsea and Man City at the moment is one's got a centre forward and one hasn't, and for that reason, Manchester City will struggle this season until come along January if they're still in with a listen. If Manchester City are 4 or 5 points off of Chelsea come January and they get Harry Kane, then they can push themselves back into it. But for me, Chelsea, do you know what? I was analysing. We were talking about this with Chelsea the other day. I wouldn't say Chelsea, and I'm not. This is no disrespect to them. Have not got what I would call world-class players, but what they've got is very, very, very good players in every single position, and as a team, it just works. There's no superstars, you know, of the high ability. So there's no egos. They just do what they do. And their midfield, by the way, you know, people say about them, they're brilliant. They're brilliant without being like, oh, he's the best midfielder in the country or he's the best midfielder in the world. They just do what's there. Powerful, knock the ball back really well. And what they've done now is they've got a manager that knows just that little bit more tactical stuff, knows what to do. You know, I was a little bit frustrated with Chelsea at first. I said, look, typical Chelsea, they strolled it against us, and here they are struggling against Tottenham, but they just changed it in the second half, and I admire that. You know what I mean? Like they were struggling a little bit, one little tactical change, and bosh, they've done that. Like, you know, so I think with home advantage as well, I think Chelsea will win this comfortably 2-3-0. Because I don't think that City have got the firepower at this moment in time. I think like a couple of their players, like De Bruyne, I think he's a fantastic player. He's not quite fit all the time at the moment. Always in and out of the team at this moment in time. Get him back on firing, different thing. They've got a few injury problems at the moment. I think like you know in their team, and I think that I don't know really. You know, Sterling hasn't hit the ground running. You know, they're a great side, don't they? They smashed us 5-0, but you know, I'm not saying that they're not a good side. They've got good players, right? But when it comes to these big games, I look at the Champions League final. Chelsea had it all wrapped up. He didn't play a striker that day, and you know, so I can see it being the same. And I just think Chelsea are, from the Champions League, dare I say it, have gone up another level with the signing of Lukaku.
Robbie, what about you?
Oh, look, I'm glad I'm not the only crazy one that's going to put out a prediction like Lee, but I agree with him. I actually think Chelsea are going to blow City out of the park this one. I'm predicting 3-0 from.
I can't handle this jinxing. This jinxing is killing me.
I actually think this is gonna be a big statement win for Chelsea, and they're gonna put everyone on alert for the rest of the season. And after this, they've got about 7 fixtures where I think they could go on a good run and keeping. I can't see anyone breaking that defense with that. They've got such a really tight defense at the back there. All their clean sheets they're keeping. Like I said, if not even just Romelu Lukaku is the threat, they've got goals. They've got a lot of options all over the park, like Lee was saying as well. And at home, I thought this was actually away this game. I didn't realize I was at the Bridge, so that's another one. And look, the most important advantage for the Chelsea is I just think that Tuchel's got a mental, like just mentally over him. You know, I think they've done you guys 2 or 3 times. You've done City last year, especially in the big one in the Champions League final. So he's got the mental edge over Pep at the moment, and I think you guys are on a roll. I really think 3-0 to the Blues. Unfortunately,
strangely enough, it's come to a point where I'd rather verse Manchester City than West Brom at the moment, just because of how things have been going for us.
It's like that. It's like that with United. Like we struggle more against the low block teams compared to City that actually play, and we beat them home and away last year because we get them on the break, or they like to play football. So when we have a team that likes to play and opens up and doesn't sit there with 10 behind the ball, you know, you get chances to attack and score goals. So, yeah, I think Chelsea get this comfortably and a big statement win for the Blues.
Well, I'm going for Chelsea win. You guys have wrapped that up so well. I don't really have anything else to add. I just think Lee summed it up with City don't have a striker, and that's what I said in our Premier League predictions. Like, had City got Harry Kane, I'm tipping them as title favourites, but they didn't get Harry Kane. Spurs held their ground, so I think Chelsea take this one 2-1. I don't think it'll be a blowout, but there is a derby that I'm really keen to speak about. I know we've only got Lee for about half an hour more, so we'll let him go first. But we've got a North London derby, Lee. We're coming into this match on the back of 2 Premier League wins after a pretty awful start. Now, I personally wasn't expecting us to get points from City or Chelsea, but I wasn't expecting us to get bullied. Brentford, I think it was just one of those nights, but Spurs started with some nice 1-0 wins, built some momentum, and it seems that the paper's fallen off the cracks. Now, so we're both coming into this in totally different places. And you would know this, Lee, being over there and being to many of these derbies, form can go out the window. It's crunch time in the North London derby. What are your thoughts on this one, Lee?
Do you know what? I think it's always difficult to predict because it's a derby game, North London derby. But if I'll be really honest, they're both teams as bad as each other. I don't think that there's a lot between the 2 teams. I really don't. Momentum, I think, probably with Arsenal because of what's happened over the last, like to lose 3-0. That's why I wanted Chelsea. I wanted Chelsea really to go, and I was disappointed they didn't hit 5, 6, 7. Like, do you know what I mean? So that would really have smashed the confidence a little bit more. Like, do you know what I mean? But listen, they'd have gone into that game against Chelsea like giving it. They would look at it and think, well, we give it our all. And we got smashed, you know what I mean? Like, so that the confidence levels may be a little bit down. Listen, they're 2-0 up, cruising on last night against Wolves, and they were hanging on at the end, so they're vulnerable. Being honest, they're vulnerable. They've got chinks in the armour, but unfortunately, they've got 2 players in their team. When I say, they are world class. They have 2 world class players in their team, and that is Song and Harry Kane. Arsenal, unfortunately, haven't got world-class players. Got good players, but like Chelsea, they've got a better upgrade of it all and a team. Arsenal are starting at the very bottom of the road to build up this team momentum. I think that Arsenal, will have changed because we've got likes of Gabriel back in there. Like Tommy Asu looks like a really good player at right back. We look defensively very, very a little bit stronger, and I think that's what's going to be the case. If we can defend well against them, then we've got enough to firepower to maybe beat them. It'd be interesting to see what the neutral guys think of Arsenal and Spurs at this moment in time. But listen, I think home advantage is always a key. I do think that we just talked about it with Chelsea. You know what I mean? If even as good as Chelsea are, if it was at Man City, I would have probably said a draw. So but because it's Chelsea, I'm going to go with. I think home advantage, being at the Emirates, is a big thing, big factor. It's a big factor, and I think because of that, we'll just nick it 2-1. But listen, the atmosphere will be fantastic. It's a great game to. It's a great game to be involved in and watching if you know you're going to win. But like I'll tell you this now, I don't enjoy them. There's parts of the game when you're just happy that Arsenal are attacking because that means that Spurs can't score. You know what I mean? It's a real horrible game for me. And like, listen, I've got like family that are Spurs, like close. You know, it's the game. One game. You know, if Chelsea beat us, you can accept it. But if anybody like Spurs is it's a painful thing if you lose. So. You know, you're more worried about losing than winning. You know, like sometimes it's just a relief if you get a draw. So, but I just think being at home, I think we've got a chance on this one. There, you know, Spurs are vulnerable, and football changes very, very quickly. Listen, I had, like 2-3 weeks ago, Spurs were top of the league, we was bottom, and they was giving it all everything. There, we could actually be on the same points come Sunday evening, and the same with West Ham. You know, if West Ham don't win at Leeds, we could actually go above West Ham if we win, and they've been giving us it. So football, you know, is one thing about Arsenal is what they've got to do is it's no good beating Norwich and Burnley. By the way, a second and first from bottom. You know, like we've got to start winning games and momentum. Like, and I know, like when you're talking to West Ham and Man United fans, that's a gimme. You know, like 5, 6, 7, 8 wins on the spin. But that's what we've got to do. It's no good beating them two teams and then losing to Spurs and Brighton. We've got to go there and now. We've got to beat Spurs. Then we've got to go and beat Brighton. And then people will start thinking, do you know what? It's turning from Mikel. And all of a sudden, we'll start taking Arsenal a little bit seriously. But I know that at this moment in time, no one's taking Arsenal serious because, you know, you can see what the proof's in the pudding. But I'll tell you something now, if we do beat Spurs and we beat them convincingly, then we go to Brighton and win, and then we beat Aston Villa, then we beat Crystal Palace, people will start thinking, got to watch this Arsenal side now, like, you know. But you've got to be in that position. You've got to win those games before anybody can start talking like that. So massive game.
Lee, before the boys give their thoughts, I just want to ask you a couple of lineup specific questions. Do you think Aaron Ramsdale starts?
100%. Yeah, it's back four that's been playing and him in goal. That's there. The big decision is midfield. I think that the front three speaks for itself at the moment. Whether you think it's right, it's not clicking at the moment. But Pepe didn't play yesterday, wasn't even on the bench, nor was Aubameyang. So it tells me that they're probably going to start. Saka was on the bench, come on. So that'd be the three. It's who goes in midfield. Obviously, Partey will play, and it's
Xhaka's back.
Xhaka's back. So and it wouldn't surprise me, guys. It wouldn't surprise me if he plays. It wouldn't surprise me. Like, I don't think that he should, but it wouldn't surprise me. I would go a little bit more adventurous with Odegaard and Smith Rowe in there, but I can see him going Partey, Xhaka, or Partey, Lokonga, and maybe just Odegaard or Smith Rowe and one of them coming on from the bench. But as I say, you know, that is the key to midfield for me, because I think that's where the game will be won, and they're not as strong as us, or, well, I say they're strong. We're not. There's not a lot of difference between the midfield, and I think that could be the key. That one there. If Xhaka plays, I'm going to be. I don't know, you know. So we'll see.
Well, Lottie thinks he'll certainly be starting. I know she's a big fan of Granit Xhaka's. What about you, Robbie? You're neutral.
Yeah, I'm neutral. Look, mate, I think Arsenal have the wind in their sails at the moment. You know, in all competitions, 3 wins on the bounce, and obviously Spurs just got over the line penalties and coming off the back of 2 losses in the Prem. Look, I'm going to be honest. I was going to call this a ball draw if I was going to be honest, but we all know Harry Kane gets a penalty against you guys like literally every single derby. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this one. Nice and simple.
What about you, RJ?
Oh, it's nice to hear Lee talking about his experiences about Arsenal and what he thinks can happen. And let me say, Lee, I'm equally disappointed we didn't put 5 or 6 on in that second half against them, because they were on the ropes. And unfortunately, we just perhaps didn't have our shooting boots as much as we would have liked. But I might also politely challenge you on the not about the world-class players. We've got Kenny or Kante, N'Golo Kante, what a champion he is. And, of course, the Italian regista, Jorginho, player of the year. But I understand what you're saying. We're not a team of superstars, but we're a star team, as I'd like to say.
We're talking about the North London derby, mate. We've had your
I know. I had to say that. I had to say that because this segues into this point because, you know, for me, I saw a lot of good in Tottenham in that first half. They were really strong against us. And that's, for me, had they been a little bit more efficient with their chances, like Son had one, but Kepa came out and blocked him. And had they managed to capitalise on their good start and made it difficult for us, and all of a sudden we have a 1-1 draw, then they walk into this North London derby high on confidence, knowing that they took it to the European champions. But as you said, Lee, they played strongly. Chelsea were resilient, came out, blew them off the park in the second half. That's got to be totally demoralising for them, knowing that their best was still embarrassing in the end, like in terms of result-wise. Whereas you guys, you were the laughing joke to start the season and have now slowly started turning things around. So on the balance of things, it started off like this, but it's almost like here with you guys now slightly ahead of them on momentum, which can flop and chop and change very quickly. For me, I just think it's, you know, it's an old cliche. It's who wants it more and who does it mean more, the result for? Because Arsenal, like you said, if they can beat a team that isn't at the bottom of the league and really they should be beating, this would be more of a statement performance. Whereas Tottenham, they have a little bit more capital in the sense of they've started the season well. They've beaten Man City. Yes, they've lost against us. But if they were to lose, it wouldn't be as catastrophic, I think. Whereas if you lost, it puts you back down into that dark web and it could really cause some aftershocks, especially for Arteta, who I'm sure we're going to touch on very soon. So in the end, I think given there's, to me, in my opinion, more on it for Arsenal slightly than Tottenham, that will be enough to propel them in this match. And I actually think the home ground advantage plus the good momentum gives them that win in the end. And I'll go with a 2-1 to the Gunners. Although I'd like a 3-3 draw with Tanganga and Xhaka to have a punch-up, but it doesn't always work out like that.
That'd be good.
Sorry, I was on mute. I was just in awe listening to your wise words, RJ. I knew when Lee made that comment about world-class players that you were dying to make a comment. That's why I really quickly cut you off and moved.
He rolled me up. He rolled me up.
I can assure you, I think it's a compliment more than anything. But
look, for me, it's crunch time. This result is going to have a huge impact on our season. I don't think I'm reading too much into it. It's a North London derby. If we win, then we start to look a little bit different. We've had 3 consecutive Premier League wins. We've won in a North London derby, and I feel like the confidence that would put into our squad could sustain us over the run of games that's up ahead, because the run of games is not as daunting as facing Chelsea or City. And then, like Lee said, I think you nailed it, Lee. If we can build some real positive wins and some momentum, we all of a sudden jump up that table and we look like a different team. So I feel like a win could really propel our season to all the right places. But on the other hand, a loss in the Emirates against Spurs, it will be hard for a lot of fans to take. It will be very hard to take. But I'm not saying that I feel like Arteta would get the sack after a loss, because I feel like the board's backed him and they're invested in this. So I feel like if we win, it can be huge. And if we don't win, we need to move on from it as quick as possible. Before we go on, we'll do a quick deep dive into Arsenal. I know Lee's time's running out. But I'll just chuck up a couple of predictions from the live chat. Gooner Eddie, Arsenal 1-0. I would love another clean sheet too, Eddie. We've got Terry joining us. Good evening, Terry. Alex is confident. Spurs 5-0. I think you're having a laugh, mate. And there were a couple more in there, but I may have lost them in there. George with a little bit of cheek. The derby is a competition for the 5th best team in London. George is a Man United fan, Lee. I'm sure he'd have plenty of respect for West Ham after what they did to them this morning. is saying 2-1 to Spurs. So, some interesting shouts. And Lottie, I have to put yours up there. Granite Xhaka's biggest fan. No, she's not. 2-0 to the Arsenal. So, Robbie.
All right, Lee. Well, yeah, we've got you. You're the main attraction, and obviously we do want to pick your brain a bit. So a nice, simple one to start. What have you made of the season so far for the Gunners?
Oh, disappointing start. If I'll be honest, I'm not convinced by Arteta. I'm not been convinced by what we're doing, but I'm willing to be convinced. If you know what I'm saying, like I think that if we can get a few more wins, if we were to beat Spurs and then we was to go and win Brighton, I would then turn around and say, do you know what, we're on the right path. But I've enjoyed the Premier League with the new signings and that coming in. It's like fresh. But from our point of view, a little bit of envy because I see like Chelsea buying Lukaku, you guys buying Ronaldo, and we're getting a little bit left behind, and that worries me a little bit. But all in all, it's been a little bit hit and miss for us so far.
Yeah,
definitely. Look, you've mentioned transfers and the transfer window there, Lee. We kind of have to sit with the squad that we've got now till January, and I do feel like they've tried to build some depth in our squad. Could we have invested that money maybe on some more potential star caliber players? Perhaps, but I can see what they've done in trying to build a young team. Reminds me a little bit of the British core that signed under Arsene Wenger. When January rolls around, Lee, is there any particular business you'd like to see us do?
Well, I don't. I'd like to see us freshen up the striking role. If I'll be honest, I think we need to bring in a striker that's going to win balls in the air. That ain't going to happen in January, if I'll be honest. So we're probably looking at that for next season. But the signings were underwhelming, but I think they're signings that we needed. I know that sounds silly, I've never criticised the signings. I always look back, in the George Graham era, we signed Steve Bold, Lee Dixon, Nigel Winterburn, players like that. They weren't household names, but they was what the club needed. And if Mikel Arteta feels that these are the sort of players that are needed, then that's fine, And sometimes the underwhelming signings are good ones, It's not all about getting superstar ones in and things like that. But obviously, we're dying out for superstar players. But what I'm saying, and I'll say this, with Chelsea, it wasn't having a dig at Chelsea. If you can get a good team, get a proper team, like a team will beat superstars. You know what I mean? Like the proper team will beat superstars. Liverpool are a proper football team. Like you look at it now, they've not spent a lot of money, but look at what they're doing. We just said at Brentford, we're all predicting 2-3-0 wins. That's because they're a really, really good team. And I feel with Arsenal at this moment, we're not quite that. We're not reliable enough to do that. So I think that sometimes you need to get in reliable players that are going to give you 7 out of 10s all the time. Not 9 out of 10 one week, 5 out of 10 the next. And I think we've had a lot of players like that, So get yourself on an even keel, starting, make ourselves difficult to beat, and then go from there. And that's how I feel that we've got to go. We've got to go down that route. We can't go down the other route. I think we've got some very, very good young players coming through. I think that people underestimate that. Saka is a quality player. Smith Rowe's going to be a very good player. Odegaard's only 23, 24. No, 22. We've got Martinelli in that there. Gabriel's 23, 24. Ben White's 24. So I see where we're going, but you obviously want success now. But also I think that in a couple of years' time, Arsenal are going to be with these players. If they develop properly, we'll be okay.
Just quickly, Leo, on the transfers, quickly. Just say January comes around. There's been some whispers that, Harry Kane could be up again for maybe 100 mil. If City don't want to spend big and they came in for Aubameyang at 32 years old and threw 30-40 million at Arsenal, could you see Arsenal letting him go?
Yeah, I think that they would do and should do, because, then put that money on to say like trying to get Calvin Lewin out of Everton or someone like that. That's the sort of centre forward. I think if Arsenal were to go and get Calvin Lewin or someone of that ilk, big, strong, can score goals from crosses, all sorts of goals, I think Arsenal would be a different animal to what they are now. Like, you know, I think we've got good forwards, but we haven't got that X factor in there no more. Like, you know, like Aubameyang was quality. He's a player off the shoulder. I think that Arsenal at the moment are breaking down because the one thing that we need is someone that's going to hold the ball up as well, like, you know, give us a platform. That's probably his weakest part of his game. So when you're a midfield player, you haven't got the confidence to ping it into him because you don't know if it's going to stick. So there's a few worrying situations from that, like, you know. So I would do, because I think nothing against Lacazette, nothing against Aubameyang as far as players are concerned, and I don't think that there's going to set into the style of what Arsenal and Arteta, well, particularly what Arteta is looking to play. You know, like when we lose the ball, we get back behind the ball very, very quickly, and so I don't really see Aubameyang doing that. Like, you know, so then you have that one player up front. It gets isolated a little bit, if I'll be honest. I watched it yesterday. It gets isolated because our two wide players get back behind the ball when we lose it. So you need someone that's big, strong, who's going to hold the ball up, bide a bit of time for your forwards and your forward wide players and your midfield to push on. So I think that it's something that we've got to address.
Yeah, Lee, look, we know you've got to go in just a minute, but I just wanted to say before RJ asks you the final question for this deep dive part of the show, thank you again for making the time to come on. It's honestly been just fantastic to listen to you speak. All of Lee's details are in the description for Lee Judges TV, which is brilliant. They put out great content, Lee and Dan, on there, so make sure you check that out. All fans, you don't have to just be an Arsenal fan. But RJ, you can hit Lee with the final question, and then we will bid him farewell. I know he has a train to catch.
Yeah, well, hopefully it's the Tuchel train. But in all seriousness, Lee, it's been fantastic, man. Look,
Very good,
we spoke. Mine's thematic. We spoke about Sean Dyche, respect for Brendan Rodgers, and Tuchel, your admiration for what he's done with Chelsea since taking over from my favourite player of all time, Frank Lampard, and the criticism Chelsea copped at the time for being as ruthless as they did, but in retrospect, it's proved to be a good business decision, which it's ultimately a business. Mikel Arteta, you spoke about the striker. Maybe if they freshen that up a little bit, you see a different Arsenal. But from what you've seen throughout the tenure of Arteta at the helm, it's not about, is this an Arteta in, Arteta out discussion, because that's old, but it's more about, what do you think Arteta needs to do to maximise the most out of this squad? And ultimately, is it something, do you see him being that person to really take Arsenal 2.0 for the long term?
No, I don't. But he needs. It's like everything. You need convincing, don't you? And the way he's gonna convince me is to win games of football, beat Spurs, beat Brighton, get on a run. We've not done that under Mikel Arteta. I think the most we've gone is about 5 games. You know as well as I know, 5 games ain't going to get you to the top 4, let alone the title. You need to get, in games of 20, 25 games unbeaten. That's very, very difficult. But that's what you've got to be aiming to do. Or getting at least to double figures, 10 games, getting unbeaten 10 games and seeing where you are from there. And that's the thing that he's got to do. Is he convinced me yet? No, he hasn't. And certainly not with the way we're playing. It needs improving and all that, because I don't care what anybody says. We've still got decent players in our team. I'm not saying that we've got the players that are going to compete with Chelsea and Man United and the likes, but what we've got is decent players. When we should be blowing away teams like Norwich, Burnley. In theory, we should be but we're not. So there is problems there. For me, I think that at this moment in time, people are starting to think, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking that, something's going to happen. But if we lost to Spurs and lost to Brighton, he's gone. You know what I mean? So he's got to win football games and start building up a bit of credit. He had a lot of credit when he won the FA Cup. You know what I mean? I was one of them that said, no, he's won the FA Cup. The way he went about beating Chelsea and the way he went to beat Man City to get to that and win that final. But he hasn't done that in the league. The league's different to a cup. The cup you can win 6 games and you're in the final. The league is over all sorts of different ranges of weather, games, scenarios, and all that, and so it's you're tested more. Every game's difficult. Every game there's a test, and you've got to be up for that, and you've got to make sure that you can go on and do a run. He's not done that yet, and until he does that, I'm not convinced. You know what I mean? And that's how it's going to be. But the way he will convince and the way of turning it around is win games of football, and that's all you can do. Is listen, they haven't been great wins against Norwich and Burnley, but I can tell you that now that if we'd have lost them games, there'd be all hell breaking loose. But he's won them, and that's the difference. And it's fine margins between winning and losing, fine margins. So you can win 1-0, like for against Burnley, and then that penalty decision goes against you. It's 1-1, and you're all going mad. So that's what it is. So for me, he's just got to continue to keep winning games of football.
Well said.
Absolutely, Lee. Well said. We know you've got to go, but again, on behalf of all of us and the people in the live chat, thank you so much for making the time to join us.
No problems.
We would love to get you back
Don't
on.
worry about that. We'll do some other features or whatever, So if we talk about IFTV or something like that, no problems.
Yeah, because I know George did have a question, but we have to let that one go for now, George. But Lee said he'll come back, and he's a man of his word. He's a good man. Lee, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
No
All
problem.
the best with your day.
No,
awesome. Thank you very much, Lee.
Nice chatting, Lee. Take care, mate.
Bye bye.
Boys, for me, we've had some big guests on this show. We've had Fabrizio Romano, Simon Hill, Kelechi. We've spoken to, on Down Under Football Crew, Mark Bosnich, John Aloisi. Listening to Lee speak, for me, as an Arsenal fan, I'm not expecting you guys would have felt this, but listening to him speak as an Arsenal fan, you can just tell that he's a guy that goes home and away, and he loves that team. It was great for me to listen to him. And I apologise to you, George. Your question was a banger, man. But he promised us. We promised him an hour, and
he does. He said he's got to get it. He's got to go on a train up to London or something. So he was cutting it.
I think he was going to the studio.
Yeah.
AFTV. So, what did you make of that, RJ? What did you think?
Yeah, look, for me, I think all Gunners fans are deluded at heart. No, just kidding, of course. We've just lost 200 subscribers, as I've said that. No, he's been I really enjoy someone that's level-headed but passionate. It's one thing to analyse the game, and that's what I am by trade. I'm an analyst. That's what my job is. But if it's not backed up by genuine care, and like the way, for me, what resonated the most was when he was describing, and I felt like a connection as a fan at heart. Like when he was describing the fact when you go to certain grounds and it doesn't look good, or the atmosphere is not there, or when you're playing your number one rival, winning is the best feeling, but when you lose, it's gut wrenching. And that's something that resonates with all of us, because as you know, when our teams lose, don't go there. Just don't talk to me for a day or two at least. So having him bring both passion but sensible sort of insights. Yeah, you can see why he's revered in the community, because he's just top shelf.
And what gets me, and I'll get your thoughts on this, Robbie. I know that a lot of people out there in the world of social media will just hammer AFTV, for example. They'll give it a bad rap. They'll say they're just there to see the team lose, and they like seeing the team lose. We've spoken to Kelechi and Lee. Now, neither of those guys strike me as people that want to see the team lose. Like, they are passionate. They're passionate. They're realistic. They're top guys. So, to me, you can't kind of tarnish a whole channel based on one or two views, because that's, to me, what content creators should do. You should show different views. And Kelechi and Lee, anyone that tried to tell me that they're guys who want to watch the team lose, would be absolutely insane. I love those guys. Robbie, what do you think, man? How do you feel chatting to Lee?
Mate, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to him. Like I said, I just felt the passion coming out of him. And look, I'm not going to lie, mate. I'm a United fan, so majority of the time when I never knew what an AFTV was, but then obviously when I found out, I'm not going to lie, I enjoyed it for when Arsenal did lose, for the banter, to see what they'd done and everything like that. But look, like you just said, we just had Liam, we've had Kalichi on, and mate, out of all our guests, I was right up there with just genuine, passionate, balanced, level-headed people that just gave us straight facts and told it how it is. So look, mate, really raw, and I really enjoyed it. And I really does hope he comes back so we can, pick his brain a little bit more on the whole AFTV and more about him going and some of his memories he's had. As like I said, he's living the dream for us, mate. We get to wake up all hours of the morning and watch it, but for them, that's a weekend thing for them, mate. They go to work during the week. On the weekends, they get to go and watch their team.
The good life, Robbie. The good life.
It is, mate. Honestly, that's what we get to watch it on the screens, but to be there and home and away and feel the
breathe
passion
it in.
And yeah,
right.
so jealous of it, mate. But yeah,
and I know Lottie's going to the North London derby. Lottie, every time she puts up her pictures after the game on Twitter and I see them, and I wish I was back there. But the world's so messed up at the moment, particularly for us. Over 3 months of lockdown now, boys?
Yeah,
right?
Mate. I'm counting down to our freedom day.
I see so many, but I see so many, like you said, Scott, like Lottie with her great pics of all her Arsenal experiences, and I see a lot of my Chelsea community, and we're outside Stamford Bridge or someone's outside getting a photo with Kai Havertz, and I'm like, anyway, 3 a.m. in the morning, getting my pajamas watching the game. I'm like, anyway, I love it. It's a football thing, but you know what I mean? It's just, if we could live that, it would be out of this world.
Yeah,
and before we jump over to Fantasy Premier League, like I echo the sentiments there, and I know you boys haven't had the pleasure yet of watching your teams over there, but it gets worse as an Aussie. Like, you guys know I've been up a couple of times, and you come back and you miss it. You almost go through like a grieving phase where you feel like...
How did you come home, Scott? I would have stayed there, mate.
I'll tell you what, I always said to my wife, I said, Katrina, had I not met you, I would be in London right now and I would be an Arsenal season ticket holder.
How do you think I feel, mate? I kind of got a taste of it. I went all the way over there, went to London, went to 7 weeks in summertime. I got to do I only got to do the stadium tour and stuff. And, mate, I think by the time I came home, I missed the start of the season by about a week and a half. But after 8 weeks, it was time to come home, and that's it. We're just going to have to go back there one day. And
you should be blacklisted, Rob. You should have stayed there, mate.
It was a killer, mate. But that's it. Like, for us Aussies, to go over to Europe in summer is peak time to enjoy it, besides the football.
Rob, you and me have this debate all the time. I always say we've got a brilliantly hot summer down here for those people that like heat and the beach. I don't know.
You can't go to Malta
You
can't go to Malta and southern Italy, where my family's from, in wintertime. It's dead.
I've done it. I haven't visited your family, but I've done Malta in winter. I'd sacrifice nightlife and the beach to go and watch football. Tell you what, but maybe this could be a debate stream we could do one night. Quickly, boys, on the Fantasy Premier League, and there's still a fair few people in here watching. If you haven't already, please smash that like button. If you haven't subscribed for some crazy reason, we cracked 400 subs. Please hit that sub button too. We can't keep bringing you amazing guests like Fabrizio Romano, lead judges, Simon Hill, without your support, and you guys make that very easy. How are you looking for Fantasy Premier League this week, RJ? Made any swaps?
You know what? I haven't yet, and I was looking at it just the other day because obviously I spoke about my team during the week, and I'm slowly making my ascension back up the ladder, as you guys know. Great comment, Lottie, by the way. Big Sydney fans we are, obviously being born and bred here. But for this week, it's going to be interesting because obviously the big games we've covered already, the tighter ones. So for me, I might look to, because I've got Salah as my captain, Liverpool, and I think they're going to perform well again this week. I'm not sure about my defence because I've got a couple of City and Chelsea players, so they're conflicting, if you know what I mean. So I'm not 100% sure, but if the live chat's got any secret weapons, I'm quite keen to hear them.
Yeah, well, we'll see what they come up with. I actually want to ask the live chat or both of you, do you think Tsimikas will play for Liverpool again?
Oh, look, mate, I think he's definitely pushing Robbo, but I think he played he played the League Cup game, I think, so I can't see him backing up. And then there is Champions League next week as well, so they will alternate. But yeah, I'd say Robbo will play this weekend.
And Alexander-Arnold too, just reading, because I've got him on my team and I lost points, obviously.
Yeah,
so he's
same.
apparently 75% chance.
Yeah, I think it was just illness for him. So I just guess if he's if he's better, if he's feeling better, he should be in.
But he might be one I sub out in case, so I'm not sure.
There you go. He's
Yeah,
sick,
look,
so there you go.
I did make some transfers this week. Obviously, no wildcard left to play. I did get rid of Mason Greenwood. I think now with Ronaldo being there, the attack's just, I feel like it's going to hamper Greenwood's opportunities. I have gone with Conor Gallagher in my team. He's looking like he's in some nice form. I've now got a ton of points in the bank too. So I might look to make a big move in a couple of weeks, bring in a Trent Alexander-Arnold or someone. But I was really glad I kept Tony last week. I know
George, for me.
George got rid. Oh no, George still kept him, but only just got rid of him. And I know you got rid of him, Robbie, but I don't see them scoring if he's not involved. So that was my big transfer, and I have captained the big man Cristiano Ronaldo to come back in and score a goal. So, what about you, Robbie? Any changes?
Yeah, just the one change, one in, one out. I'm bringing in Alan Saint-Maximin. I bring him in for Jimenez because I bring him in for Tony for 1 week and just turned me straight off. I still got my wild card. I'm going to try. There's only 1 more week after this before international break, and then I'm pretty much going to be hitting that wild card, and then I'll be bringing in the big boys, maybe Lukaku up front and playing around. But I won't go too top heavy. I've seen a lot of people have gone Ronaldo and Ron and Salah. So, but the only thing is there, you really need those 3 players to perform. Otherwise, the rest of the squad is going to be average. And
even attacking defenders, Rob, I think that's someone I've been speaking a lot to people about trying to go down that road. Yeah.
I agree. I always prefer attacking defenders like your Alonso, your Trent Alexander. Mate, the one player that it does my head in is he's going to survive another week. Luka Dean, mate. Oh my god. Mate,
Rob's agenda against Luka Dean continues.
I swear to God, man.
We talk about him every week for this same reason. It's never anything positive.
What do you mean? He got 0 last week. He scored an own goal or something last week.
Get rid of him. What are you doing?
The week I get rid of him, he'll get a clean sheet. And if you look at their fixtures, they've got good fixtures on paper. So
watch him score an own goal and get a red card this week.
Lives to die another day.
Oh man. Look, Lottie's captain Salah. She's got Antonio for the vice. Ben has captain Ronaldo.
How much is Antonio?
It's only like 7.6.
Yeah,
I had him on my bench. Yeah, I had him on my bench last week. He's coming straight back in.
Okay.
Ooh, there we go.
How many, Robbie? You're the expert. Scott, you're the next expert out of us 3. How many of the, how you've got the free hit, the bench boost, and the triple captain?
You can only play one at a time.
But one at a time. It's not like you use one and it resets after halfway through the season or anything.
No. Okay. So you get, for the whole season, you get them, but you can only play 1 per week as well. You can't play like a triple captain and a free hit in the same week either.
Sure. Good to know for our amateurs like myself.
Yeah, and a couple of comments in the live chat. George is on your boat.
Exactly. That's exactly.
Declared's having a laugh at you. Our competition leader, Ben, telling you to drop him. Yeah, I agree with Ben. Dina in doubt, 7.9 on Antonio.
7.9, so he's gone up heaps.
Yeah, it looks good on paper, Robbie, but the performances count. I agree. Lottie knows, mate. Lottie's very, very
Get Kante in, guys. That's my hot tip. Get him in, triple captain him. You'll get a double against City. That's it.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see. But boys, it's been a great show. Thank you again to everyone in the live chat. Please make sure you like. Thank you for helping us hit the 400 subs. You guys are part of the family, and we've got some big things planned. Obviously, FIFA is coming out next week. Like I said, if anyone's got it on the PS5, and Dan Hill was telling me he thinks it could be cross-platform. So even if you've got it on another console and you would like some Pro Clubs action, reach out to me. Send me a DM. Let me know. We will try and put together an It's a Football Thing Pro Club so we can go and smash the boys at the United Pubcast. At the moment, it's myself and Declared. So who wouldn't want to join that dynamic duo?
Declared war against them, have we?
That's it. We're declaring war. We might try and get Lee Judges to join us. We'll see if he likes pro clubs. But we've got that planned. We've got some good, interesting guests lined up in the future. We're not going to drop those. right now. But honestly, we enjoy you guys, and you're a massive part of the show. So it's
Even
good
the
to see
match reactions, Scott, I just want to drop that because
Yes.
lately the boys have been doing some quick 2 to 5 minute match reactions. So when you see them drop on the channel, feel free to check them in. What they are, they're just a quick raw thoughts regarding our teams that we obviously most intimately are involved with. So when they pop up, feel free to go and check them out, and smash the like button and share them around. It's just something, again, a raw reaction regarding our thoughts on our clubs.
Yeah, and Terry as well has jumped over from another channel, a new sub. So welcome, Terry. Glad you enjoyed the show. Would love to see you back sometime.
Terry.
Lottie saying thank
Thanks,
you
Lottie.
again, Lottie. You guys are doing cracking work on Cannon Chatter. Boys, any closing thoughts? What a show. I can't wait to go and tell my wife all about Lee Judges. I'm pumped. Any closing words before we end this stream, RJ?
Well, as I like to throw out the odd dad joke, I'll let the audience be the judges in terms of whether or not they thought this was a good episode, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And, this is one of the highlights of my week. So happy days. I like this declared, mate. He's declared war on you again, Robbie. What's going on?
Oh, this is why I signed up with you in pro clubs, because now he's stopped putting the banter on me. You're getting it
Can
now.
you hear my wife's actually pissing herself laughing after that comment in the background?
Oh,
what are you doing to me, declared?
Oh, yeah, I can hear her. There you go. Robbie, closing words, mate.
Look, guys, be good or be good at it. Keep it simple. Thanks, everyone in the live chat as usual, and we'll see you back here Tuesday night as usual.
Coffee delivery on Tuesday.
My closing words coming from Lottie herself. Come on, you Gunners. Let's smash those Spurs. We'll see you on Tuesday.